Hi friends, it's Shari, and today I'm going to be creating a rainbow watercolor bookmark using the new Toucan Do It stamp set. I'm going to be using the Karin Brushmarker Pro markers as well as this Canson watercolor paper. I've gone ahead and picked out a rainbow of colors, and I'm just going to trim this paper down to 2.5 inches wide by 9 inches long, which is a little bit longer than I need, but it'll give me some wiggle room to trim off the edges. I'm going to start somewhere here in the middle with my lightest color, which is the yellow, and I'm just going to put down some of that color onto that paper directly, and then I'm going to pull in some water with my watercolor brush and just pull that color towards the other side. Now I don't want to go all the way, I wanted this to have some white along the other edge. And then I will just work my way down towards the end here. So I'm going in with the orange now, and you can see where those two colors hit. They start to blend together and you get that really cool watercolor look. And if you need to pick up a little bit more color, you can touch this pen to that wet watercolor and get a few dots in there, or you can scribble it on your craft sheet and add a little bit of water and just pick it up, which is what I did there. Now for the red. And I'm taking this all the way to the end, even though I'm going to trim this down about a 1/2 inch off of the full length of this paper. Now I'm going to start back in the middle and work out from that yellow. So I've got a green here. And I'm just letting that yellow and that green blend together. Then I've got this nice ocean teal color. I just think this is such a pretty color. It's kind of a dark green, bluish color. Next I have sky blue. And then finally I have pale violet. Now the pale violet is not going to blend as well as the rest did, I noticed. You can still see my marker lines, but I'm just going to pick up some more of that pigment. You can see I'm dabbing it right onto the wet as well. So I've colored some on my craft sheet and I'm taking it directly to where I already have water. And then I can just add some more pigment and blend that out. And that worked really well to cover up that scribble that I had. So if you end up with a few harsh lines, there are ways to fix that. And you could do this with regular watercolors, with Tombow markers, anything that's water-based that you can watercolor with. And I'm not too worried about the end there not being too saturated. That is going to be the end that I end up trimming off when I trim this down to 8.5 inches. So I'll just set that aside to dry. And once it's dry, I said I need to trim off that end a little bit, so I'm just trimming off 1/2 inch because this was originally 9 inches long. And then I'm taking the new Slimline Tropical Leaves Border die, and I am cutting a piece of black cardstock. So this black cardstock is 8.5 inches long, so that's going to fit right along the edge of this really pretty watercolor rainbow. I'm going to add some of the critters from Toucan Do It to this backdrop, but I don't want to color them. I just want to stamp them directly on there in black ink, so you just get their outlines and nothing takes away from this beautiful watercolor that I created. So I've just put those black leaves that I've die cut, put everything in my MISTI just as a placeholder so that I can place my stamps where I want them. So I've got that little toucan. He's going to sit on this leaf here. Of course, I have that cute little lizard, and I'm going to have that one sit on this leaf towards the center of this bookmark. And then I have the little butterfly. And I'm also going to add the jaguar at the bottom, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp these 3 images. So I'm just going to pick them up with my MISTI door, pull those leaves out, and then I am using VersaFine Onyx black ink. This is a really crisp black ink, and this watercolor paper has a little bit of texture, and this is going to stamp beautifully on this paper. So you can see there how they fit sitting in those leaves. Then I'm also going to stamp the little jaguar at the bottom. So I've got the placement for that. I'm just going to stamp her down, and then I'm going to stamp a branch for her to sit on. So what I'm going to do is create a mask just with a post-it note. And while this is in my Misty, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that down. And then I can take my scissors and cut around it to create a mask. I really only need to worry about masking off the bottom, so I'm just going to leave that little piece on top of her head. It's a great thing to grab onto to place this on the paper. So I'm placing my mask over the image that I've already stamped, and then I can take that large branch that's in the stamp set and place it so that it looks like she is sitting on that branch. So I'm just bringing my leaves back in so I can make sure that the end of the branch gets hidden behind them. And I'm going to scoot it over a little bit so that we get just a little bit of the leaves on the very edge, on that white edge. So I'll just pick that up with my Misty Door, move those leaves out of the way, and then again ink this up with that same black ink. And that mask is going to block it from messing up the image of my little jaguar. So I can stamp that down, and then when I pull the mask away, it will look like my jaguar is sitting on that branch and that tail is in front of it, and the branch image doesn't mess up that tail of the jaguar at all. I'm adding some liquid glue to my leaves that are die cut, and I'm just going to line that up right against this left edge of the bookmark. And then I also wanted to back it with a piece of black cardstock just to make this a little more sturdy. It's a slightly warped because I added water to make all those pretty colors. So this is just going to kind of laminate it, make it a little thicker and a little more sturdy. And it'll also keep it nice and flat. And I decided to put this on a larger piece of black paper and then trim it off so it is exactly the same width. You could also just trim it to that 2.5 inches wide and just laminate those two pieces together as well. But this ensures that those edges line up just perfectly. So now I'm going to add a little tag, and this is going to hang off the ribbon at the top. So I'm using the new Hearts and Stars skinny tag die, and I've cut 2 of them so that I can put them back to back and we can have the nice stitching detail on both sides. But on this side, I'm going to stamp the little sentiment that says "Have a Wild Day." And I'm going to white emboss that onto this black cardstock. So I've just put my tag into the negative piece of cardstock from which I cut it from, and I've picked up that stamp with the Misty Door after I lined it up. I'm going to add some anti-static powder to this so that that embossing powder only sticks where my ink is. I'm using some clear embossing ink, and I'll just ink it up. Make sure it's nice and covered, and I'll stamp that down right onto that tag where I lined it up. Now I can get my embossing powder ready, and I'll just pull this out of that little negative space. I actually put a little bit of repositionable adhesive on the back just so it didn't slip around. And I'll just add my white embossing powder to where I stamped that sentiment. And then I can just heat it up with my heat tool until it's nice and melted and you get that bright white sentiment on that little tag. Now there's a lot of powder on here, and I like to take a damp chamois and just wipe that powder away. I'm putting some glue on the back of this, and then I'm just going to layer that second tag so that the backs are together and we get that nice finished stitching detail on both sides. So now I can punch a hole at the top, and I'm actually going to punch this on the left corner, so it's a little bit different, not in the center like a normal bookmark. And then I've also cut the little reinforcing circles that come with that skinny tag. There's a big one and a small one, and I'm going to put the big one around the hole in the bookmark and the small one around the hole in the tag. And I actually cut 2 more and did the same thing to the back side of both the bookmark and the tag. I have a piece of purple ribbon. I thought it would be cute for the purple ribbon at the top because that is our last color in our rainbow, so it matches the portion of the bookmark in which the ribbon is located. But you could choose any color to go with this rainbow we have. And I've just folded it in half and put that fold through the hole and then pulled it through itself. So it's just looped through itself at the top, and then I put one side through the tag and then I tied a knot. And that's going to keep that little tag that's the hanging part of our bookmark ribbon, and then I can just trim off the excess. So you can make this as long or as short as you want. And then here is my finished bookmark. And I just really love that bright and colorful background with that watercolor look using the markers, and then those black outline images just really stand out on that watercolor background. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.